What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Well-Rounded Individual. I'm your host, Adam Schindler. Today is going to be a bit of a switch up because the guest today is myself. So, no guest today, but I thought it would be important for those of you who don't know my whole story or don't know me that well to kind of get a little bit of more of a context of who I am, where I come from. Maybe a little bit of that can kind of like shine some light on, why I operate the way I do, things that I do, reasoning behind, motivation, drive, and everything like that. So, my goal is always just to bring as much value as possible to these shows and to everyone listening and watching. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this one because it's going to be a little bit different. But with that being said, it's about me. It's kind of hard to talk about yourself at times, but I know my story and I know it's valuable and I'm excited to share with you. So with that being said, let's get right to it. So again, my name's Adam Schindler. I created this platform and this podcast, Well-Rounded Individual, because I wanted to help other people, right? I wanted to share stories of resilience, share stories of struggle and overcoming, and just share stories of inspiration and motivation. And I'm fortunate that I've lived a full life. And I'm only 41 years old, but I've told people before if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't be unhappy with how I live my life and what I've been able to do and accomplish within my life because I've lived a full life. I've checked off so many things off my list, but I mean, I don't want to die, right? I want to stay around for quite a while, mainly because, the most important thing to me is, I'm a father now and, my son needs me. So now that's my driving force moving forward, even though I've checked all the boxes that, people would really think were important to have a fulfilled life, but those boxes mean nothing if I can't curate a life for my son to be able to feel the same way when he's my age or even older, or just continue to enjoy and love life. But with that being said, let's start from the beginning. So I live in Las Vegas now, big city of lights, 24/7. Anything you could want, anything you could imagine, you can do or can happen here, and it's quite amazing. And it's actually kind of it's kind of tough to leave and go other places. But I grew up with humble beginnings. So far from the Las Vegas lights that there couldn't be a more opposite. I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, right on the Ohio River. Actually, two little small towns. One's called Ripley and one's called Ravenswood. They're in the same county, but they're right on the river, right in Appalachia, and it is the exact opposite of Las Vegas. Maybe 3,000 people. There is quite a bit of poverty there. If you don't know anything about Appalachia, lots of poverty. So I grew up around that. I saw it. I'm fortunate that my family, I come from a good family. By no means were we rich at all. Well, actually, we were pretty poor whenever I was a kid, because where I grow up and where I come from, just because your parents have things doesn't mean that you do, right? So I think that's another reason why I've been able to build such strong discipline and habits over time, is because I knew that everything that I ever wanted had to come from me. Because I come from a blue collar area where people work hard and nothing's given to you, and everyone's equally as everyone equally is supposed to earn their own, right? So that's the mindset that I always grew up with. I know that whenever I was a kid, my mom put herself through nursing school when she had 3 kids already. and we were on government assistance. So I think that those type of programs are really important for people who need it to get out of it, right? I don't think they're good to stay on forever, but they serve a purpose, and they served a purpose for my family, which I'm grateful for, and I think is necessary for those who are in need and want to build more. But I had a great foundational childhood. I come from a very loving family that I would classify as middle class, maybe lower middle class, some maybe upper middle class. We've ranged from in the middle class area, right? But whenever I was a kid, I mean, we lived in a trailer. We were poor. I didn't know we were poor, but that's the thing, is like when you're a kid, you don't know. But the house was filled with love. My mom made sure that the house was filled with love, and that's something that I always remember, and I thank her for that. So, good childhood. And one story, I've always believed in myself. Like, I was an athlete growing up. I always wanted to be the best at everything. And I was, but I was also a big fish in a small pond at the time. So I always wanted to be the best at everything, but I think that it's very important for children to have an internal belief that is fueled by important people that love them in their life, right? So whenever I was a kid, I'm the oldest of 3 kids, and my mom had 2 miscarriages before I was born. And she said that she prayed to God, like, when she got pregnant with me, that she felt like God had promised her a successful pregnancy and child. And about the same point of the pregnancy of the previous 2, which she lost, she started bleeding again in the same exact way. So she thought she was losing me, and she said she was angry, and she prayed, or maybe even, I don't want to put words in her mouth, was mad at God, saying, "You promised me this time. You promised me that that you would take care of me this time." And she said that then it stopped. And lo and behold, everything turned out all right, which is great. And that's something that, so she always called me special, because I was like her miracle baby. Which, when you hear as a kid, really makes you believe that that you're here for a reason, and you're here for a purpose. And I always believed in that, and I always believed in myself because of that. So I'm really happy. That's a tough story for a mother, and I know there've got to be so many mothers that have been through the same situation and have lost children. But thank you to my mom for fighting for me, and for telling me about it, because she told me about that, I truly believed that I was a child of God, and I was here for a reason. So that is not how I expected to start this. So yeah, I'm really happy that happened, and I'm happy that she communicated that with me, because it was important for my development and just my inner dialogue to myself. That's so important. Inner dialogue for children is so important. But let's fast forward. I'm an athlete. I'm growing up. I'm winning everything. But I also know that I'm good. So again, a big fish in a small pond. So I eventually had to expand. I start traveling. I start wrestling all around the country, and I'm still winning, and I'm doing well, and um, I'm just building more confidence within myself to know that like I'm capable of things. I'm capable of great things, and that I'm capable no matter where I am and no matter who the competition is. Right. So I think that's important as well, especially if you have children who are like in athletics, to not only fuel them with positive talk and positive reinforcement and let them know, but make them work and put them in situations and competition that's going to test them, because um, anyone can be a big fish in a small pond. So losing on a big level, which I have done also, is a great place and a great area and way to grow. So always, challenge your kids. That's something that really helped me, because coming from a small place where no one really traveled very much, no one really did anything. Like West Virginia is, people don't really leave West Virginia. I know a lot of people who were born and raised there that they might go to the beach once a year or somewhere, but they don't really venture out. They don't go other places. That's home, and that's fine, to each their own. But, if you want to cultivate someone who wants to expand and grow and touch more people and find different places, challenge them. They must be challenged. So I feel like I was really challenged in that area, which gave me confidence. So fast forward through high school, I'm wrestling. I'm an athlete. I win state championships multiple times. I win national championships going into high school. But I wasn't recruited. B, I just didn't have the support system at my school, because it was a small school. And C, I didn't have the desire to really. I was sick of cutting weight. I was tired of wrestling, and I just wanted to, do something different. With that being said, I got in a bunch of trouble, right? I told this story on Dorian's podcast not too long ago. Graduating high school, the 2-time state champ. I could have easily wrestled and competed at the Division I level, but because I think I had poor examples of male leaders in my life, I would rather have partied at the time. So instead of like taking this gift that I was gifted with and running with it, I pretty much I squandered it. And that's something that I believe is like something that I believed, like where I came from, that like people are talented, but everyone always fucks it up. So that was par for course. But anyways, I get arrested, and once I graduate high school, and then I join the military instead. So the military is by far the best thing that ever happened to me, because what that did was it took all the best parts of me and it squashed all the worst parts of me, because I was able to continue to be confident because I knew that I was capable. But I also had to check my ego at the door and leave my ego at home, because I wasn't the star athlete Adam Schindler anymore. I was Airman Schindler, which was just another person here to fulfill a duty of a team and not of myself. When I was a child, I was really kind and giving, and I cared about other people. And I honestly remember a time whenever I was little when I would switch my pillows out when I was sleeping, because I felt bad for the pillows that weren't getting used. Right. So I was very kind hearted, but something happened along the way. It has to do with treatment from my father, from divorce, from growing up in an environment where it's not cool to be kind, where being tough was more valued than being kind, where I kind of grew out of that, and I became egotistical as a teenager. And I lost I've always been kind, but I kind of lost it along the way. So once I'm in the military, things change. No longer am I someone special. I am just me. I am a number to everyone else. So you have to start from the bottom. You have to prove yourself again. So being on your own as an 18-year-old is really scary. Being on your own as an 18-year-old joining the military right after 9/11 is even scarier. I'm really fortunate that I never was put, I had a job in the Air Force that didn't put me in danger in the war. So I'm really fortunate for that, but feel a little guilty sometimes because of that as well, because I don't feel like my service means as much as those who truly had their lives on the lines. I know that's incorrect. I know that everyone volunteered and it's not one way or the other, but I was safe, which was a good thing. And I'm glad that I'm here today for it. So military, I'm growing up, I'm on my own, 18 and beyond. So since I turned 18, I've always been alone. My family is on the East Coast, all the way from West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia. I've got some family in northern Wisconsin too, but everyone's far away. So I was by myself in Texas for, the rest of my life, really. So I've always been on my own, and that's been a really great way for me to always know that I had to do everything for myself. I couldn't rely on anybody. I always had to show up. And I feel like that's super important for someone to learn. It can be scary because you don't know how you're going to get things done sometimes, but the only way to actually figure things out and get things done is to start taking steps. You don't have to have an elaborate plan. What you have to have is a thought in mind that you want, and then action, right? Your thought, your end goal may turn out differently than you first imagined. But if you are actively taking steps towards something in a good cause and you treat people along the way well, you're going to win in the long run. So that's kind of what happened to me. I did 6 years in the Air Force, and I got out. And when I got out, at this time, I wanted to get back into competition. I had been a competitor and an athlete my whole entire life. I have thousands of wrestling matches. So growing up, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. But, when you're 5'8.5" and 170 pounds, white boy from West Virginia, I don't have a whole lot of options on the big three. But then MMA came along. And I was like, wow, I can do this. I remember I was watching a fight. It was Tyson Griffin versus Frankie Edgar. And Frankie was just tearing him up wrestling. And I was like, he's out wrestling him. I can do this. And so then I started training, I started fighting. And my goal at that point was to fight in the UFC. So I was, I start fighting, I'm training my butt off. And by this time, growing up as an athlete, I was talented, but I didn't necessarily like to work hard. But I developed a discipline and a work ethic through the military that really helped me take my abilities and my skill to another level. And there were bumps along the road as well. I started in a small gym in San Antonio and fought a couple amateur fights, but I was in Texas, and my wrestling was, so Texas isn't a big wrestling state, and my wrestling was so good in Texas that it was no point in staying as an amateur because I would just the competition wasn't good enough. So I immediately turned pro after one fight as an amateur, and I started fighting in Texas. And I completely fell in love with martial arts, and not even just wrestling, because I had to unlearn a ton of wrestling. I wouldn't even consider myself a wrestler anymore. Like when people think that I'm a wrestler, once upon a time I was. But I like to think that like I evolved into a well-rounded grappler and a well-rounded fighter, because I love the discipline. I love the camaraderie. I loved the challenge. I love the competition of being in the gym and, just working hard with your friends on something that you actually care about, which taught me a ton of lessons. You don't really think about like, oh, like going to the gym and training every day must be nice, right? Well, this is the thing. It's like what it does do is it teaches you that of what you do like and what's valuable to you. And, once I had joined the military, I was a computer programmer in the military. And first of all, I didn't think I was a good programmer. I'm just good at tests, right? So I was able to get to secure a good job. And I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't want to be stuck in an office all day. That's just not how I operate. So, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna start fighting. And I remember I had a roommate at the time from the military, and he was trying to get me like to get me to get out and like get like a regular job and stuff. And I promised myself one day driving to work when I was in the military, I was like, I am never doing something I don't want to do ever again. So when I got out, I was like, I'm fighting. And I had a friend who was like, oh, you're just going to be a fighter, so that's all you're going to do? And so I'm like, yeah. Like I matter-of-factly said yes. And for the next 5 years, that's all I pursued. That's all I did. I didn't have the type of success that I wanted because of injuries and because of poor choices and, just some things that got in my way. I like to, I guess I could say I wasn't good enough, but I know I was good enough because I trained with and some of the top guys in the world who said you are world-class level. But it just never happened to me for one reason or another. And it took a long time for me to accept that because of the injuries, because of everything else, because I had an identity wrapped up in being a fighter and being an athlete. But I had to transition. So all of this is happening in Texas. And so let's recap. I grew up in West Virginia. I was an athlete. I joined the military. When I get out, I'm fighting, and I'm constantly running into things. I'm running into injuries, and I'm rehabbing, and I'm overcoming. And if you've ever been in the fight world and you are pre-UFC, it's a struggle financially. And I was doing all this in a state that was 1,500 miles away from any family that I had. So I created some friends that became family, but I felt alone, and I felt like I didn't have a support team or system or anything to fall back on. So after I got hurt for the second time, I was like, okay, I just turned 30. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not beating my body up anymore. I'm not going to be 40 years old and crippled and not be able to walk because, I chase this dream that's not going to happen for me. So, I mean, I don't know whether I can look at that as being smart and transitioning and pivoting when I knew that even if in the best case scenario, it wouldn't have been worth it for me because I think I just didn't love it as much as I should have. And I transitioned away. I went back to school, used my GI Bill, got my degree in geography of all things. And the reason why I chose geography is because I just always enjoyed maps. I've always been the navigator on road trips. I used to ask for globes and atlases for Christmas and birthdays. And, when you have the GI Bill, I had the post 9/11 GI Bill. So I was basically getting paid to go to school. And I was like, well, I can do anything to make money. And while I'm here, I want to enjoy what I'm learning, and I want to wake up in a good mood. I want to do what I'm doing, which goes back to what I promised myself on the way to work that one time. I'm never going to do something that I don't want to do ever again. So fast forward to that, I graduate, I get my degree, and I'm living in Austin, Texas at the time, which is a great place. But I just felt like I had kind of just burned all the boats there. I still have a great network there and a lot of great friends, but I needed something different. I needed a change. I knew myself enough to know that like I have to be in a place where everything's new, in order to create someone new for myself. Because in my mind, the old me had died, right? When I was in the military, that kid that grew up in West Virginia was dead now. And then through the military, when I got out of the military and I started fighting, the military kid was dead to me now. And then when I was fighting, the way it ended, I could hold on to that for the rest of my life, but I had to move on. And so I needed a change of atmosphere. I needed something completely different. I needed to reinvent who I am and who I was. So it was really important for me to have a new atmosphere and a new scenery and just a change of life. So that's when I moved to Las Vegas in 2015. And I got back into the fitness industry. So basically, I've gone full circle, right? Military, fighting, athlete, and then I get a degree in geography, but I go right back into fitness. I was doing weight loss nutrition coaching, which is something that, I've always been good at and I've always known, because I had to learn the hard way. I would cut weight and figure out what worked for me. And, especially even whenever I was a young guy, a young airman, I had a subscription to Men's Health magazine. I would read Men's Health, get workouts, figure out, just take little bits and pieces on how to eat, basically through trial and error, to develop my skills of health and wellness for life. So I move out here and I start training, but I'm alone. I don't have any friends. All my friends, all my family is back east. All my friends are back in Texas. I didn't have any friends in Vegas, so I had to. But that's a great opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to reinvent who I am. So I have, and I created through in-person training and through online training that I created through the pandemic. I have built a business for myself through health and wellness, through longevity, keeping people healthy, keeping people strong for life, and the ability to do it for life through consistent effort and consistent work, which is where I am right now. It's something that I love. I get to wake up every day and do exactly what I love. It's fun. But the most important part about it to me is that, like, I'm valuable. This is something that goes back to, like, when I was growing up, getting yelled at and getting humiliated in front of fans or other parents if I ever lost a match, is that, like, I just wanted to be valuable. And that's something that I'm able to, like, fully encompass in what I do now, is not making it about me, but making it about others. And I feel like that's what our purpose is here on life, is to be selfless and to help others achieve goals and do it through our skills. So everyone alive was, blessed with a set of skills, but we don't want to use our set of skills as self-serving, right? We want to serve others because when you start to serve others, it serves you in return and it grows your capacity to serve more. So I think that's really, really important. Um, a real big part of why I do what I do, again, going back to my child, growing up, I don't have any good memories of my dad. I came from a good family. He's from a good family. But I honestly can't remember one good childhood memory. I was scared of him. I said humiliated earlier. Like and this is a big reason why, like, I must win everything, is that if I didn't win a wrestling match, like, I've been thrown against walls and screamed at in front of hundreds of people and, like, not even taken to the back and done so, like, humiliated as a child in front of, after you've already given your best effort and you lost and you're already devastated because you really wanted to win. I didn't ever lose on purpose, but then to be humiliated about it. And I never had any good memories of him. I don't know if he'll watch this or not, but honestly, I don't really care if he gets his feelings hurt, because he's in his older age, he's changed a little bit. But my dad was a dick, and I was talking to my brother about it. I was like, man, I don't have any good memories of Dad. And he does, but he said, he was like, there's a significant difference between the way he treated you and he treated everyone else. So that's one of my things, like, with my son, is, for those of you guys who follow me on social media, for those of you guys who know me personally, like, I almost, like, overlove my son. I love that kid so much. I tell him constantly, I'm hugging on him. He's spoiled. And a big reason, but I mean, obviously we make him learn things, but a big reason why I love him the way I love him is because I wish that I would have been loved that way. And when he grows up, I want him to love me. I want him to be the best, absolutely the best possible person that he can be. But I want him to look back on his childhood and just, like, really be happy and really, like, be like, man, my dad was really, really great. Because I don't have those thoughts. I don't have those memories. The good part about having a dad that's not nice is that it can drive you in other areas, right? So I definitely was better in competition because, almost out of fear, but I always think also, like, what if I had positive support instead of negative reinforcement? Right? What if my dad would have, like, told me all the good things about me and encouraged me to win because of that, rather than a win or else attitude? What else would I have been able to do in life, in business, or what? I feel like it wouldn't have taken me so long to figure things out because um, of fear, right? So I feel like I've lost my place here a little bit, but it goes back to the reason why I do the things that I do is because I want to be a good example. I want to set an example, not just for my son, but for everyone. Anyone who meets me, who comes into contact with me, I want them to leave being like better than they left before. And that's just, I feel like I got really caught up in, like, switching stories about talking about my dad. Um, that usually throws me off. So, um, I just want to be better, and I am better. And when it comes down to it, I know exactly what not to do. So thanks for that. But let's talk about like running and fitness for life, right? Because right now, all my past, none of that really even matters anymore. It's created and built who I am. But what I'm doing moving forward is what's going to be most important, because everything that has led up to this point in my life has been building blocks where I've learned and I've lost, and I've learned and I've lost, and I've learned and I've lost, and I win some and I lose, and I learn from that loss. But moving forward is what is important. The value that I want to create moving forward within this podcast, within my training business, to help people be healthy for life, to bring beautiful souls on this show, to inspire you, to motivate you, and to continue to bring value. That's what it all comes back to, is continue to bring value and add value. So yeah, a big part of that is just taking action on the things that you want. I think that I didn't know what I wanted for a really long time, and I wouldn't take action on anything because I didn't like have like a solid set plan of what I wanted. And when I realized that like you just have to start walking, that's when things come together for you. So that's how this podcast came together. I've been talking about having a podcast for years, and then one day I just decided to take some action, and it's starting to develop into something really great. This episode might not be so great because I feel like I'm bouncing around a lot, but trust me that I've got a lot of really, really great people coming in the upcoming weeks and moving forward that are just going to bring so much value to everyone involved. We've got, I've got multiple professional fitness races coming up. I'm going to High Rocks, Mexico City on November 9th. I'm going to High Rocks, Anaheim on December 7th. And then High Rocks is coming here on February 1st of next year. And the new gym that I'm training at, the Strip Barbell, is now an official High Rocks gym. Right, so I'm going to be holding High Rocks focused classes. I have a High Rocks certification now, which is great also, but I'm going to be holding High Rocks specific classes. And we haven't ironed out all of them, but probably coming up on Sundays moving forward through the fall. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be something that's going to add value to the community as well. And that's my desire, is just to bring value and improve the world. Anyone who is lost and isn't quite sure what they want to do with their life or with business, or you're in school, or you kind of just haven't figured out yet and you don't know what you need to do, just know that you always hold the pen to your story. You're the one who gets to write it. And a lot of times we get so beaten down by fear and by the world and by the thought of failing that we don't take action. That's what the enemy wants, is for you not act on the positive things that you want. Who cares what everyone thinks? Who cares what anyone has to say about it? If you are moving in a positive light and helping others, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You can create anything that you want to create. Fulfillment comes from service to others. I'm completely convinced of that. Your effort and your attitude. Your attitude and your effort are the two things that you can absolutely control at all times. So continue to show up for yourself, show up for others, especially for others, to create value for them. Right? When you make it about yourself, it's short-term wins. You can absolutely win short-term when you make things all about yourself, but eventually you're going to get found out, because the only way to truly win long-term is to serve others. There's a lot of stuff that I could talk about, running, training, motivation, discipline. But it all comes back to it. If you want to be good at something, whether it be athletics, whether it be business, whether it be, being a good dad or being a good spouse or friend, it comes down to consistently doing the good things over and over and over again, right? Long past the stage of boredom, right? When you're doing the right things for the right reasons, sometimes it can get monotonous because you don't see a direct result. But continue to do the things, continue to show up. You're capable of so much more than we think. Your brain has so much capability to it. And just like finding that way, it doesn't matter how you do it, but finding a way to tap in to what is special about you and what your purpose is super important. Yeah, I mean, this didn't necessarily go how I wanted it to go. I feel like I was quite sporadic in this. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you for watching. I'm not going to drag it out for an hour. So I'll probably repeat myself a lot. And I don't want to do that. But I think what it comes down to is my message that I want to get across with this. Because I don't even think I gave like an accurate description of like my past or who I am was. The message I want to get across is just that whatever you want in life, you're fully capable of. You just have to take action. You have to believe in yourself. You have to take action, and you have to work every day towards it. When you don't want to, do it anyways. When it gets hard, especially when it gets hard, do it anyways. The only way to do something special, unique, and extraordinary is going to be on the other side of what's hard. The other side of what you don't want to do. So whatever it is, whether it be a podcast, a career, someone you want to bring into your life, whatever you want to manifest, work towards it every day. And it'll work. It'll happen. And if it doesn't, just keep going. Thanks for listening.